Have you ever dared to confront the darkness that lies within your soul? The Forest of Mirrors, an ancient and foreboding place, is whispered about in hushed tones among the villagers. Legends tell of enchanted mirrors scattered throughout the woodland, capable of reflecting not just one's outward appearance, but the innermost fears, regrets, and unspoken truths. The air in this sinister forest is thick with dread, heavy with the weight of secrets that have lingered for centuries. Kale Morganti, a curious and determined anthropology student, is drawn to the haunting beauty of the forest. He seeks to unravel the mysteries that have ensnared countless souls, believing that the stories of those who have entered and never returned can provide the key to understanding the supernatural forces at play. As Kale stands at the edge of the forest, a chilling breeze rustles the leaves above him, almost as if the trees are whispering warnings. The sunlight struggles to penetrate the dense canopy, casting eerie shadows that dance across the ground like phantoms. He can feel the pulse of the earth beneath his feet, a rhythmic beat that syncs with the quickening of his heart. Kale's mind races with possibilities, but a gnawing unease lurks in the back of his thoughts. What truly lies within? What horrors have been concealed by the shimmering glass of the mirrors? Gathering his friends, a group equally intrigued by the macabre tales, he feels a sense of camaraderie bolstered by their shared curiosity. Yet, as they venture deeper into the forest, the atmosphere shifts dramatically. The once familiar sounds of nature fade away, replaced by an unsettling silence that hangs in the air like a heavy fog. Each step forward feels like a step into an abyss, and every rustle in the underbrush ignites a primal fear within them. Kale's resolve begins to waver as the oppressive atmosphere envelopes them. A chilling thought creeps into his mind. What if the forest is alive? What if it knows their fears and intends to use them against them? Just as he's about to voice his apprehensions, he catches a glimpse of something in the corner of his eye, a flash of movement among the trees. It vanishes as quickly as it appeared, leaving behind a feeling of dread that permeates the air. With the sun dipping low on the horizon, casting long shadows that seem to stretch and claw at their heels, Kale knows they must press on. But the question lingers in the air, unspoken yet palpable. Will they uncover the forest's secrets? Or will they become just another tale told around the flickering flames of a campfire, their souls forever trapped within the haunting reflections of the Forest of Mirrors? As they prepare to step further into the gloom, Kale urges his friends to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. Together, they will explore the depths of the unknown and confront the shadows lurking within themselves. Join us as we plunge into this terrifying journey, where every mirror could hold a deadly truth waiting to be revealed. As the sun sets behind the gnarled trees, casting the forest into a twilight gloom, Kale finds himself enveloped in an unsettling dream. It begins in the same place he stands now, but everything feels more vibrant, more surreal. The colors are unnaturally vivid. The greens of the leaves shimmer like emeralds, and the browns of the earth seem to pulse with life. Yet, there's an underlying chill that gnaws at his instincts, a whisper in the wind that warns him to tread carefully. The air is thick with the scent of damp moss and decaying leaves, creating a sensory overload that heightens his awareness. In this dream, Kale walks along a winding path, the ground squelching beneath his feet, as if the forest is alive and breathing around him. The distant sound of a babbling brook fills his ears, accompanied by the haunting echo of laughter that feels both joyful and sinister. He turns to his friends, but they fade like shadows, leaving him alone in this strange, enchanted realm. Suddenly, he hears a soft, almost melodic voice calling his name, pulling him deeper into the heart of the forest. As he follows the sound, Kale stumbles upon a clearing dominated by a massive, ornate mirror framed in twisted branches and vines. Its surface ripples like water, reflecting not only his image, but also something much darker lurking behind him. He feels a cold shiver run down his spine as he locks eyes with the reflection. The face staring back at him is not just his own. It is a distorted version, eyes wide with terror, mouth agape in a silent scream. It's a horrifying glimpse of what he could become, a vessel for despair and fear. In the reflection, the forest transforms. Shadows lengthen, morphing into grotesque shapes that seem to reach out towards him, beckoning him closer. Kale fights the instinct to flee, rooted to the spot as the voice grows louder, more insistent. It calls to him, a blend of familiarity and dread, urging him to step forward. The air grows colder, and he can see his breath misting in front of him, each exhale a reminder of the thin line between life and the void that waits just beyond the mirror. The dream takes a darker turn as the landscape shifts around him. The cheerful laughter morphs into desperate cries for help, echoing through the trees. Kale feels the weight of the forest pressing down on him, as if it knows his deepest fears and is feeding off his anxiety. Just then, a sharp crack reverberates through the air, like a branch snapping under the weight of something unseen. He spins around, heart racing, but finds nothing there, only the eerie silence that follows. With a sudden jolt, Kale wakes, drenched in sweat, the remnants of the dream clinging to him like a fog. The familiar sounds of the forest return, but now they feel foreboding. The shadows around him seem to stretch longer, and he can't shake the feeling that the forest is watching, waiting for him to make a mistake. The reflection in the mirror lingers in his mind, an ominous warning of what could lie ahead. He turns to his friends, their faces barely illuminated in the dim light, and he knows that whatever happens next will test the very fabric of their souls. The line between dream and reality is blurred, and the true terror of the Forest of Mirrors is just beginning to unfold. As Kale and his friends venture deeper into the heart of the Forest of Mirrors, the atmosphere thickens with an unsettling tension that grips their hearts. The trees, once majestic and welcoming, now loom over them like ancient guardians, their twisted branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. Each step they take on the damp forest floor sends echoes through the stillness, and the soft crunch of leaves underfoot feels ominous, as if the very ground is warning them to turn back. Shadows stretch and contort, playing tricks on their minds, leading them to question what is real and what is merely a figment of their imagination. Kale tries to shake off the growing sense of dread, but it clings to him like the mist that wraps around their legs. The air grows heavier, suffocating, as if the forest itself is inhaling deeply, ready to exhale chaos. He glances at his friends, their expressions shifting from curiosity to concern. The jovial banter that once filled the air fades, replaced by a palpable fear that coils around them like a serpent. It becomes evident that they are not just explorers. They are intruders in a realm that thrives on fear and despair. As they stumble upon a cluster of mirrors nestled within a thicket, the tension escalates to an unbearable level. The mirrors, each unique and ornate, shimmer unnaturally, casting distorted reflections of their surroundings. Kale approaches cautiously, the glass surface rippling like disturbed water. As he peers into one, a horrific vision unfolds before him. His reflection grins maliciously, a twisted smirk that doesn't belong to him. Behind that sinister smile lurks a shadowy figure, its eyes glowing with a malevolent hunger. He recoils, his heart pounding in his chest, as the whispers of the forest grow louder, a cacophony of voices intertwining in a chilling melody. The laughter of children morphs into wails of anguish, echoing through the trees, sending shivers down his spine. Each friend takes a turn gazing into the mirrors, and with each reflection, their fears manifest in ghastly ways. Mara sees herself trapped in an endless loop, forever running from a faceless figure that draws nearer with each heartbeat. Lucas witnesses his family, their faces twisted in agony, reaching out to him, begging for help that he cannot provide. The group begins to feel the weight of despair pressing down on them, their individual fears clawing at their sanity. Kale feels an overwhelming sense of urgency as he watches his friends spiral into panic. It's as if the mirrors are feeding on their terror, intensifying the sensations until they threaten to consume them whole. "We need to get out of here," he urges, but his voice sounds distant, swallowed by the oppressive atmosphere. Just as they begin to retreat, the ground beneath them trembles slightly, a low rumble that resonates through their bones. The trees seem to shift, creating a disorienting maze that leaves them feeling vulnerable and exposed. They scramble to find the path back, but the forest has transformed, becoming a living labyrinth, a web of shadows that entraps them further with every desperate step. In a moment of panic, Kale glances back at the mirrors, and to his horror, he realizes that they no longer reflect their images, but rather depict their most intimate fears and desires, distorted into grotesque parodies. The forest is alive, not just with the whispers of the past, but with the dark potential of their futures. This realization sends a jolt of adrenaline through him, propelling him to rally his friends. They must escape the grip of the forest before it reveals the full extent of their hidden terrors. With their minds racing and hearts pounding, Kale leads the charge through the oppressive darkness, aware that every choice they make could lead them closer to salvation or deeper into the clutches of the forest of mirrors. As they sprint through the thicket, the echoes of their own fears trail behind them, haunting reminders of the horrors that lurk just beyond the veil of reality. The tension in the air becomes almost tangible, crackling with a sense of foreboding that promises something truly horrific is yet to come. As Kale and his friends navigate the suffocating darkness of the forest of mirrors, the air grows thick with an unsettling energy. The shadows seem to pulse with life, creeping closer, as if the forest itself is aware of their fear. With each frantic step, the echoes of their pounding hearts mingle with the ominous rustling of the trees, creating a symphony of dread that fills the oppressive silence. Kale can feel the weight of unseen eyes watching them, a chilling reminder that they are not alone in this nightmarish realm. Suddenly, the path opens up into a large clearing, illuminated by a ghostly light that emanates from a colossal mirror at its center. This mirror, unlike the others, stands towering and imposing, framed by twisted roots and dark foliage that seem to writhe and shift like serpents. The surface of the glass shimmers and shifts, distorting the world around it in a way that feels both mesmerizing and terrifying. Kale's heart races as he steps closer, drawn in by an irresistible force that whispers his name, beckoning him to look deeper. As he peers into the mirror, the reflection warps and bends, revealing a nightmarish scene that twists his stomach in knots. He sees himself, but not as he is now. His face is gaunt, eyes hollow and sunken, a macabre version of his former self. Behind him, shadows writhe, taking shape as the tortured figures of his friends, their faces twisted in horror and despair. They're trapped in their own reflections, each struggling against the glass as if trying to escape a fate worse than death. Kale gasps, stepping back in horror, but the pull of the mirror is strong, and he feels his feet rooted to the ground. Panic erupts among his friends as they gather around him, their expressions shifting from confusion to terror as they witness the horrifying tableau unfolding before them. Mara reaches out, her hand trembling as she touches the cool surface of the mirror, and with that single touch, the world around them shatters. The air crackles with a violent energy, and the mirror erupts in a blinding flash of light, throwing them all backward. In an instant, they are plunged into a dark void, an abyss that feels endless. Kale can hear the screams of his friends echoing through the darkness, a haunting cacophony that gnaws at his sanity. The familiar weight of the forest is gone, replaced by an oppressive silence that feels suffocating. Just as he thinks they have escaped, a new terror unfolds, a distant whisper that resonates through the void, a voice that speaks his name with a chilling familiarity. Suddenly, they are hurled back into the clearing, but the mirror now reflects a different reality. Kale watches in horror as it shows a future that is all too real, visions of his friends meeting grim fates, one by one, as the forest consumes them. Lucas stands transfixed, his eyes wide with fear, and Kale knows that their time is running out. They are caught in a cycle, and the forest is determined to claim them. With adrenaline coursing through his veins, Kale realizes that he must confront the mirror, not as a passive observer, but as an active participant. "We can't let it take us," he shouts, rallying his friends. "We need to break the hold it has over us." The air around them vibrates with tension as he steps forward, facing his reflection with renewed determination. As he reaches out, he feels an icy grip pulling him back, as if the very essence of the forest is trying to drag him into its depths. But Kale is fueled by desperation, fueled by the fear of losing everything he holds dear. In a moment of clarity, he yells out the names of his friends, grounding himself in their existence. "We're more than just reflections," he screams, pushing against the cold barrier of the mirror. With a final surge of strength, he shatters the barrier between them and the forest, unleashing a wave of energy that sends ripples through the dark realm. The mirror shatters, sending shards of glass flying like daggers, and as the fragments rain down around them, the forest trembles with fury. The shadows retreat, howling in rage, revealing a path that leads back to reality. Yet as they flee, a chilling realization dawns on Kale. The darkness they faced in the mirror may have been a reflection of their fears, but the real horror lies in the lingering sense that the forest is still alive, still watching, and perhaps, just perhaps, the nightmares they witnessed will not stay confined to the depths of the forest of mirrors. With their hearts racing, the group races through the thinning shadows, knowing that while they may have escaped the mirror's grip, the true terror of what lies ahead is yet to be uncovered. As Kale and his friends emerge from the remnants of the shattered mirror, they find themselves back at the forest's edge, breathless and disoriented. The atmosphere feels eerily still, as if the forest is holding its breath, waiting for something. The oppressive darkness that had enveloped them moments ago has receded, but a lingering chill snakes its way down Kale's spine, a reminder that they are not truly free. With the memories of the horrors they witnessed etched into their minds, they stumble back into the light, but the sense of relief is short-lived. Haunted by the visions from the mirror, Kale cannot shake the feeling that they have not escaped unscathed. He notices his friends exchanging nervous glances, their laughter replaced by whispers of doubt and fear. As they gather around a fallen log, trying to process what just transpired, Kale feels a pull to investigate further. The memories of their reflections still echo in his mind, the grotesque images of their potential fates. He must understand the connection between those visions and their reality. Driven by an unsettling curiosity, Kale leads the group back into the forest, determined to uncover the source of the mirror's power. The air grows heavier with every step they take, charged with an energy that feels almost alive. As they delve deeper into the woods, the trees seem to close in around them, their branches tangling together like skeletal hands reaching for their souls. The sounds of nature have dulled, replaced by an oppressive silence that amplifies the pounding of their hearts. They soon arrive at a small clearing where the sunlight filters through the branches, illuminating a crumbling stone altar covered in moss and vines. Its surface is etched with strange symbols, pulsating with a faint glow that sends shivers down Kale's spine. As they examine the altar, a sense of dread washes over them. These markings are the same as those they saw in their reflections, each symbol a key to the dark history of the forest. Mara steps closer, her breath hitching in her throat as she traces the symbols with her fingers. "These are warnings," she whispers, her voice trembling. "Warnings about the mirrors. They say the forest feeds on fear and despair, and those who gaze into the mirrors are shown their deepest nightmares. If they cannot confront those fears," her voice trails off, and the implication hangs heavy in the air. Just then, a rustle in the underbrush snaps their attention, and Kale's heart races as he turns to see a figure emerging from the shadows. It's a gaunt old man, his face lined with the scars of time and fear. His eyes are sunken, but they burn with an urgency that demands attention. "You should not have come here," he warns, his voice a rasping whisper. The mirrors are not just reflections, they are gateways. Those who linger too long risk becoming trapped within their own darkness. Kale feels a chill run through him, as if the very essence of the forest is reacting to the stranger's words. "What do you mean?" he asks, struggling to keep his voice steady. "What happens if we don't confront our fears?" The old man leans closer, his breath cold against Kale's skin. "The forest knows your secrets. It sees your weaknesses. If you do not face what you've seen, the darkness will consume you. It will transform you into something that no longer resembles the person you once were." A palpable tension fills the air, and Kale's mind races with the implications. He recalls the mirror's visions, his friends' faces twisted in torment and despair. If they do not confront their fears, could they truly become the reflections they witnessed? The weight of his own nightmare crashes down on him, and he knows that the answers they seek lie not just in understanding the forest, but in facing the very truths they've tried to hide from themselves. With newfound determination, Kale addresses his friends. "We can't run from this. We have to confront our fears, or we risk becoming trapped forever." Their expressions shift from fear to a grim acceptance of the task ahead. They must revisit the memories that haunt them, unearth the darkness that lurks within, and summon the courage to face it together. As they prepare to return to the heart of the forest, a sense of dread hangs over them like a storm cloud, threatening to break at any moment. The old man's warning echoes in Kale's mind as they tread back into the shadows. The path ahead is fraught with peril, but they are united in their resolve, aware that the greatest battles are often fought within. Little do they know, the forest is watching, waiting for their next move, and the true horror of their journey has only just begun. With the old man's cryptic warning echoing in their minds, Kale and his friends venture deeper into the forest of mirrors, determination etched on their faces, but fear gripping their hearts. The path is narrow and overgrown, each step weighed down by the foreboding silence that has settled around them like a thick fog. The trees seem to close in tighter, their gnarled branches twisting overhead like skeletal fingers, as if the forest itself is conspiring against them. Kale feels the oppressive atmosphere pressing down on him, every shadow whispering secrets he isn't ready to confront. The chilling memory of the mirror's reflection haunts him, the distorted version of himself still vivid in his mind. He is painfully aware of the stakes. To face their fears, they must return to the site of their nightmares and confront the darkness that lies within. But doubt gnaws at him. What if they fail? What if they become the very horrors they've seen? As they forge ahead, Kale leads his friends toward the clearing where the colossal mirror had once stood. The air grows colder, a biting chill that seeps into their bones. Mara walks beside him, her eyes wide with trepidation. "Do you think we'll find it again?" she asks, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if it shows us something worse this time?" Kale hesitates, the weight of her words heavy on him. He knows that the only way to move forward is to confront the reality of their fears. "We have to try," he replies, trying to sound more confident than he feels. "We can't let the forest win. We need to face what we saw and break its hold over us." As they reach the clearing, a palpable tension fills the air, thickening with anticipation and dread. The remnants of the shattered mirror glimmer faintly in the dappled light, shards scattered like broken promises across the ground. But something is different. A feeling of unease wraps around them, a sense that they are being watched. Kale scans the perimeter, but the forest remains still, its secrets hidden in the shadows. Suddenly, a chilling breeze sweeps through the clearing, carrying with it the faint echoes of laughter, childlike and innocent, yet laced with a sinister undertone. The laughter grows louder, reverberating through the trees and sending a shiver down Kale's spine. He looks at his friends, their faces pale and drawn, each grappling with their own internal demons. The laughter morphs into anguished cries, a cacophony of voices pleading for help, echoing the torment they had glimpsed in the mirror. Just then, from the depths of the forest, a figure emerges, a tall, shadowy silhouette that glides toward them with an unnatural grace. The air thickens with malevolence, and Kale's heart races as he realizes that this is no ordinary inhabitant of the forest. It is a being of pure darkness, a creature born from the very fears they seek to confront. Its eyes gleam like dying embers, promising nothing but despair and chaos. Mara, Lucas, run. Kale shouts, instinctively pushing his friends back, but they are frozen in place, their bodies paralyzed by the creature's menacing presence. The shadow approaches, its form shifting and swirling like smoke, whispering promises of eternal darkness. You cannot escape what you truly are, it hisses, a voice like gravel scraping against glass. Embrace your fears, or be consumed by them. Kale feels an overwhelming wave of terror crash over him. He stumbles backward, his mind racing as memories flood in, moments of failure, betrayal, and regret. The weight of his insecurities bears down on him, and he realizes that this creature is not just a figment of the forest, but a manifestation of his own darkest thoughts. It knows his every fear, his every weakness, and it intends to use them against him. With a surge of defiance, Kale shakes off the paralysis, forcing himself to confront the shadow. "No," he cries, finding his voice amidst the chaos. "I will not let you control me." He turns to Mara and Lucas, urging them to remember who they are. "We can't let it win. We're stronger together." As he stands tall, the shadow hesitates, its form flickering like a dying flame. Encouraged by Kale's resolve, Mara and Lucas rally beside him, their fear transforming into determination. Together, they face the embodiment of their fears, hearts pounding in unison as they confront the darkness that threatens to consume them. With every ounce of courage they can muster, they begin to chant their fears, naming them out loud: regrets, failures, the haunting images from the mirror. As the words spill from their lips, they feel a strange power swell within them, a light that pushes back against the darkness. The shadow shrieks, recoiling, as if burned by the very truths it sought to exploit. In this moment of unity, they realize that confronting their fears is not about succumbing to them, but about reclaiming their power. They are no longer mere reflections in a cursed mirror. They are living, breathing individuals capable of overcoming the darkness. With a final, deafening scream, the shadow dissipates into nothingness, leaving behind a profound silence that resonates with the weight of their victory. But as the clearing falls quiet, a lingering dread remains. Though they have faced this embodiment of fear, Kale knows that the Forest of Mirrors still holds many secrets. They may have triumphed over one nightmare, but the journey is far from over. As they stand in the eerie calm, the feeling of being watched returns, and the forest's true intentions linger in the shadows, waiting for their next move. As the eerie silence envelopes them in the clearing, Kale and his friends stand in a fragile state of victory, their hearts still pounding from the confrontation with the shadow. But the calm is deceptive. A shiver runs down Kale's spine, and the atmosphere thickens with an ominous weight, as if the forest itself is preparing for another assault. The victory they felt moments ago begins to wane, overshadowed by an unsettling premonition that something even darker lurks beyond the veil of the trees. Kale, filled with a mix of dread and determination, turns to Mara and Lucas. "We need to keep moving. There's no telling what else the forest has in store for us," he urges, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at his insides. They nod in agreement, each casting nervous glances at the surrounding darkness. Together, they tread deeper into the heart of the forest, where the light grows dim and the shadows deepen. The air grows colder as they advance, and with each step, Kale feels an unseen presence trailing behind them, a palpable sense of being hunted. The trees sway gently, but the movement feels deliberate, as if they are closing in, whispering secrets that the wind carries away before he can comprehend them. He can't shake the feeling that they are being watched, scrutinized by eyes hidden in the foliage. As they navigate the labyrinth of twisted roots and brambles, they stumble upon another clearing, this one larger and more foreboding. At its center stands a second mirror, grander than the first, framed in jagged black stone that seems to absorb the light around it. This mirror pulses with an unsettling energy, and Kale can't help but feel drawn to it, despite the dread pooling in his stomach. Suddenly, the air crackles with tension as the shadowy figure they had faced earlier begins to materialize before them once again, emerging from the depths of the trees. This time, it is accompanied by haunting wails, voices that twist into a cacophony of torment, echoing the fears they had each faced. Kale realizes with horror that these are the lost souls of those who had come before them, those who had succumbed to the mirror's power and were now trapped within its grasp. "Welcome back," the shadow hisses, its voice a chilling blend of familiarity and malice. "You thought you could escape me? You've merely scratched the surface of your own despair." Panic grips Kale as he watches the reflections in the mirror. The glass shows them not just as they are, but as they could become, monstrous versions of themselves, twisted by fear and sorrow. Mara's reflection weeps silently, her face streaked with blood as she reaches out for help that never comes. Lucas's image twists into a grotesque parody, his body writhing in pain, as if the mirror is mocking his every insecurity. Kale feels a wave of terror wash over him, threatening to drown him in hopelessness. "No," he shouts, stepping forward, determined to break the cycle of fear that has ensnared them. "We are not defined by our fears. We are more than what you show us." His voice echoes defiantly through the clearing, cutting through the darkness. But the shadow only laughs, a low, rumbling sound that reverberates through the trees. "You think you can defy your own nature? I will show you the truth of what lies within." With a wave of its hand, the mirror shimmers and warps, transforming into a swirling vortex that pulls at their very souls, threatening to drag them into its depths. Kale realizes they are at a precipice. The final confrontation is not just against the shadow, but against the darkness that lies within each of them. He feels the fear rising in his throat, the shadows of doubt creeping back into his mind. But he cannot falter. He must inspire his friends to confront their own reflections and reclaim their power. "Look at yourselves," Kale cries, gesturing toward the mirror. "These are not our true selves. We can fight back. Remember what we faced together and the strength we have." He steps closer to the mirror, his reflection steady and resolute, despite the chaos swirling around him. The shadow screams, a sound filled with rage and desperation, as it tries to pull them apart. Mara, bolstered by Kale's courage, steps forward, her eyes blazing with defiance. "You don't own us. We are not your prisoners." Lucas joins her, fists clenched, determination radiating from him as he confronts the specter of his own fears. "Together, we are stronger than you." With their voices united, a surge of light emanates from them, cutting through the oppressive darkness. The shadows shudder, recoiling as the power of their resolve begins to dismantle the malevolent energy that binds them. Kale feels a surge of hope as the mirror's swirling chaos starts to fragment, shattering the illusion of despair that had threatened to consume them. The shadow shrieks, its form disintegrating into a cloud of darkness as the mirror begins to crack, the shards reflecting their true selves, vulnerable but unbroken, flawed yet resilient. As the glass shatters completely, the cacophony of wails fades into silence, and for a moment, there is nothing but peace. But as the dust settles, a chilling realization washes over them. Though they have defeated the shadow, the forest's true nature remains unchanged. It has fed off their fear, and even now, they can feel the ground shifting beneath them, a reminder that the darkness will always seek to reclaim its hold. They stand in the aftermath, knowing that while they may have won this battle, the war against their own fears is far from over. Kale turns to his friends, determination flickering in his eyes. "We must stay vigilant. This forest may be alive, but so are we. Together, we'll face whatever comes next." With renewed resolve, they prepare to navigate the treacherous path ahead, aware that the real journey has only just begun. As the remnants of the shattered mirror fall to the forest floor, Kale and his friends feel a strange mixture of relief and unease wash over them. They have survived their encounter with the shadow, but the atmosphere in the Forest of Mirrors remains thick with an unsettling energy. The air is charged, crackling with an otherworldly tension that suggests their ordeal is far from over. Shadows flicker at the corners of their vision, and the trees seem to whisper among themselves, taunting their victory and hinting at more terrors yet to be revealed. With the haunting memory of their reflections fresh in their minds, the group stands together, aware that the true battle lies not only in the forest, but within themselves. The echoes of their fears still linger, and Kale knows they must confront the reality of their experiences before they can truly escape the clutches of this haunted place. Yet, a deeper mystery simmers beneath the surface, an unsettling question that gnaws at him. What will happen to them if they leave? Will the darkness follow them, or will they finally be free? As they begin to retrace their steps through the labyrinthine woods, Kale glances back at the clearing where the mirror once stood. A sense of foreboding grips him, and he feels the weight of the forest pressing in around them. The trees' close ranks, their branches twisting and turning as if trying to trap them within their dark embrace. He can almost hear the whispers again, fragments of lost souls warning them of impending doom. Suddenly, Mara stops in her tracks, her expression frozen in terror. "Did you hear that?" she breathes, eyes wide as she scans the surrounding shadows. Kale feels his heart drop as he strains to listen, the silence enveloping them now heavy and oppressive. A low rumble reverberates through the ground, a sound like the forest itself is awakening. The air grows colder, and he can see his breath misting in front of him, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurks nearby. "Stay close," he urges, trying to keep his voice steady. But the shadows seem to dance with life, shifting ominously as they move deeper into the forest. Each step forward feels like a step into an abyss, and Kale can sense the forest's heartbeat quickening, a rhythm that mirrors his own growing fear. The path ahead becomes obscured, swallowed by a thick fog that rolls in like a living entity, cloaking everything in uncertainty. Just as they reach the edge of the fog, a figure materializes within it, a gaunt silhouette that emerges from the mist. Kale's heart races, and he grips Mara's arm tightly as the figure steps into the fading light. It's the old man they encountered earlier, his face ashen and eyes filled with a deep sorrow. "You shouldn't have come back," he rasps, his voice strained as if he struggled through the forest's dark embrace once more. The forest does not forgive those who dare to defy it. "What do you mean?" Kale asks, panic creeping into his voice. "We face the shadow. We shattered the mirror." The old man shakes his head, a mournful look crossing his features. "You may have defeated one aspect of the forest, but it is alive, hungry for fear and despair. It thrives on the darkness in your hearts, and it will not let you leave easily. It will find a way to twist your victory into something more sinister." Kale feels a knot of dread tighten in his stomach. He exchanges glances with Mara and Lucas, their faces reflecting the same fear that has settled like a stone in his chest. The forest is not done with them. It has merely regrouped, biding its time to unleash a new terror. "Then what do we do?" Lucas asks, his voice shaky but determined. "You must confront not just the darkness that surrounds you, but the darkness that lies within," the old man replies, his voice a low whisper. "You must face the truth of who you are and what you fear. Only then can you hope to escape." Before they can respond, a violent wind sweeps through the clearing, swirling the fog around them, distorting the world into a surreal nightmare. Kale stumbles back, his vision obscured by the rushing shadows, and the echoes of the lost souls grow louder, drowning out his thoughts. They are trapped in a whirlwind of fear and uncertainty, unable to distinguish reality from illusion. As the winds howl and the trees creak ominously, Kale realizes they must act quickly. "We need to stand together," he shouts over the cacophony. We cannot let the forest divide us. But even as he speaks, the shadows around them twist into grotesque forms, echoing their deepest fears. Mara sees her reflection twisted in the fog, a version of herself consumed by despair, while Lucas is haunted by images of betrayal, friends turning against him. Kale fights to keep his focus, drawing strength from the bond they share, but he can feel the pull of the darkness threatening to unravel him. With a surge of determination, Kale reaches out for his friends, their hands clasping tightly together as they form a circle against the encroaching shadows. "No matter what happens, we face it together," he declares, his voice strong and unwavering. As they stand united, the darkness coalesces into a swirling mass before them, a final confrontation looming. The whispers grow louder, taunting them, promising despair and hopelessness. Kale knows this moment will define their fate, that their choices here will determine whether they succumb to the forest or reclaim their lives. With one last deep breath, Kale prepares to face the darkness head-on, ready to confront not just the shadows around them, but the very essence of fear that seeks to claim them. The future is uncertain, but he knows that together they can fight against the encroaching dread. As the shadows loom closer, the question lingers: will they emerge victorious, or will the forest of mirrors claim their souls forever?